This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, 4 people have been taken to Dunedin Hospital with stab wounds following an incident at Dunedin's Central Countdown. The Economic Development Minister spells out which areas are set to receive funding boosts. And Highlanders coach Tony Brown is set to return to Japan, but says he'll coach the Southern New Zealand rugby franchise remotely. Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi o te ahiahi nei, kia ora, I'm Simon Anderson. 4 people are injured, some critically and some moderately, after a stabbing at Dunedin's Central Countdown this afternoon. Multiple police vehicles and at least 4 ambulances attended the scene.
As well as arriving in multiple vehicles, many officers were heavily armed. A witness says a staff member told him 2 Countdown staff members had been stabbed, and the attacker allegedly walked up to somebody and stabbed them in the back. A St John's spokesperson has confirmed 4 people have been injured, some critically, some moderately. They've all been transported to Dunedin Hospital by ambulance. A man was seen covered in blood and was walked to the police station by armed officers at 2:35 p.m, police confirming they'd detained someone. The supermarket was evacuated and people told to stay away from the windows. Police blocked the entrances to the car park before clearing it. The store closed, and Countdown's Managing Director Spencer Son says they are deeply shocked after the attack. In Dunedin, The South Today.
The government has approved funding for a 10-kilometre long cycle trail in the Wakatipu Basin, running from Lake Hayes Estate to Gibbston. The extension will add to the growing network of mountain bike trails in the region. The planned extension is being paid for from a $6.5 million fund of government money allocated towards local cycle trails. Some of that money will go to 2 other trail extensions which connect Arthur's Point, Tucker Beach and Arrowtown. Following the government's announcement of a $200 million tourism support plan, the Minister for Economic Development, Stuart Nash, has visited Queenstown to explain how the money will be spent. The fund aims to support diversification and reset of the Queenstown Lakes economy by helping to develop alternative industries and attracting private sector investment.
Minister of Economic Development Stuart Nash told a Queenstown audience how the government will spend its $200 million tourism support plan over the next 2 years. He says half of it will go to regions where more than 50% of the local economy is based on international tourism.
The region, in fact, that suffered the most from the lack of international tourists is actually Auckland. And it's a harsh thing to hear if you're an Auckland tourism operator, but if a business folds in Auckland, it's not going to bring down that local community, but also the odds of someone in a tourist business finding another job in Auckland is quite high. Whereas in places like Queenstown, Mackenzie Country, South Westland, the Glaciers, when tourism fails there, or when tourism is in dire trouble there, that runs a real risk of having an immense impact on the local community. Hence the reason why half the package is focused around that area.
A large part of the package is called the Tourism Kickstart Fund, which will provide those businesses currently in hibernation with about 2 weeks pre-COVID revenue, so as to be able to reopen when tourists come back.
We recognise that a lot of businesses have gone into hibernation. If you're in hibernation now, the odds of you coming out of hibernation and being able to get your business up and running in a way that will be able to meet demand once those international borders open is very, very limited. And we think you will need some support in the form of a grant to allow that business to scale up and ready to go.
A further $15 million is being made available to protect Milford Sound and create a more sustainable visitor experience.
Okay, Milford Sound, it sort of epitomises New Zealand as we sell ourselves to the world. You don't see young people dancing in nightclubs, drinking exotic cocktails. You see beautiful mountains, you see Milford Sound, you see waterfalls. We get 870,000 tourists through Milford Sound in pre-COVID times. And you talk to anyone down there, it was not the experience that we had sold to the world, and we were really running the risk of eroding the social license to operate down there.
Other projects for the Queenstown region include a digital innovation hub and film studio. In Queenstown, the South Today.
A Dunedin police officer was taken to hospital after boiling water was thrown at her face while on duty last night. Police say the female officer was attending a family harm incident in the Pine Hill area. Police allege that while in attendance, a woman threw boiling water at the officer's face. The officer received facial injuries and was taken to Dunedin Hospital and will be off work while she recovers. The suspect was taken into custody and is facing charges of assaulting police. Highlanders coach Tony Brown may be 10,000 kilometres away, but he's still going to be heavily involved in the Highlanders' upcoming game plans. Brown leaves for Japan this week to help coach the national side, meaning he will not be the head coach for the Highlanders in the upcoming Super Rugby Trans-Tasman competition.
Highlanders coach Tony Brown is having to walk away from his team in order to fly to Japan to help coach that country's national team, the Brave Blossoms, also known as the Cherry Blossoms or Sakura.
Very unfortunate, but also exciting at the same time around trying to get Japan Rugby back into playing Test Rugby. So having played for well over a year, almost 2 years now, so playing the Lions in Scotland's a huge challenge for Japan Rugby. But unfortunately I have to leave early around my job here with the Highlanders.
Brown has been assistant coach for Japan's national team for about 4 years and says he's been fortunate to be able to coach for both teams, in part due to the seasonal nature of the sport.
I'm pretty lucky as a rugby coach. Japan let me coach the Highlanders and the Highlanders let me coach Japan, and sometimes it's going to overlap.
Despite heading off to help Japan with 2 weeks quarantine ahead of him, he'll still be involved with planning team strategies for the Highlanders, while assistant coach Clark Dermody deals with the team face to face.
Obviously I'll still have a major role in planning for each game, making sure our plans are right on the money around trying to win games of rugby, and also reviewing games, making sure the players are getting the right feedback and the team's moving in the right direction. And then obviously Derms is going to be the man on the ground here and drive the team from day to day.
On the same flight to Japan this week will be the Brave Blossoms head coach, Jamie Joseph, with both men working on getting the team ready for their match against the Lions in Edinburgh at the end of June. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, the University of Otago has a new plan to tidy up student behaviour, and we catch up with some of the weekend's action in Dunedin's club rugby scene. Ka kite a konei.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Hey, what have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it. Chicks World. Chicks World. Right.
Hoki mai anō. The University of Otago wants the power to fine students who let their flats rubbish get out of control. The proposal is among a raft of changes planned for the university's Code of Student Conduct. But Otago University Students Association President Michaela Waite-Harvey says the issue should really be between tenants and landlords. She says if the City Council doesn't have the power to issue notices on private property, she doesn't see how the university can think it has the right to do that. At present, the Proctor has the ability to issue a maximum fine of $500 under the Code of Conduct. A stationery fundraiser in Oamaru has raised around $3,000 while participants pedalled furiously. The spin-a-thon involved a group of people cycling as fast as they could for charity while going nowhere.
They might have looked like they were getting nowhere, but almost a dozen teams on exercycles pedalled hard to reach their goal of raising $3,000 in North Otago Plunket's major fundraiser. Called a spin-a-thon, the charity event at the Waitaki Community Recreation Centre had bikes on loan from 2 Oamaru businesses for anybody to ride throughout the day. Organisers say they're very pleased with the event, with a number of people dropping in throughout the day to help raise funds for Plunket. All the money raised was earmarked to stay within North Otago. In Oamaru, the South Today.
The Dunedin club rugby scene is in full swing with many matches being held across the city. Harbour took on Dunedin at Kettle Park in the weekend and one of the weekend's feature matches.
Rugby cliches like a game of two halves have become that way due to matches like the feature game in Dunedin at the weekend between Harbour and Dunedin.
We've just witnessed an absolute cliffhanger. Varsity were up by 5, they were up by 35 to 30 with time winding down. Dunedin and then a couple of the Harbour boys went to the bin. Salamau went to the bin and then there was a professional found another boy to the bin, so they were down to 13. Dunedin took a line out drive, went over and scored.
Rugby Chat's Paul Dwyer says the scores were locked up with the kick to come. Dunedin's Josh Morby had to chance his boot into the wind from the sideline, but says there were other factors at play.
And yeah, we're getting some stick on the sideline too, from a very boorish Harbour crowd, I felt. So talk me through that kick. Did you think you had any chance of getting it over?
Oh, mate, honestly, I was looking into that, looking into the wind, and I was just feeling it. And the fellas on the sideline weren't giving me much help, but I just sort of went through my process, and honestly, luckily enough, it went over. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a great feeling.
As for the narrowly defeated Harbour team, it's the second week in a row they've lost closely fought matches. Captain Nathan Hasty says the team are turning up, but there's a possible question around stamina.
Well, as New Dunedin, we're going to come back in the game, never out. I feel like we're playing some good footy out there. We just need to play for the whole 80, and plenty of learnings to take out of it.
The topsy-turvy game saw each team more dominant at times, but with a spectacular kick at the whistle, Dunedin edged Harbour 37-35 at Kettle Park. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, a series of proposed marine reserves could stymie fishing in some areas, and we check out the weather. It's been pretty good today, like it could almost snow tomorrow. Find out after the break.
What have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it.
Chicks World! Chicks World! MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Inside are all sorts of innovations from all over China.
Hoki mai anō. The Acting Minister of Conservation, Ayesha Viral, is set to receive advice on 6 proposed marine reserves for the southern coast next month. The proposal includes 6 marine reserves along the southeast coast of the South Island, where marine life will be fully protected and fishing banned. The reserves would be administered by the Department of Conservation. Also included in the proposal are 5 areas with a range of restrictions on fishing, plus an area where commercial harvesting of bladder kelp would be prohibited. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. 4 people have been taken to Dunedin Hospital with stab wounds following an incident at Dunedin's Central Countdown. The Economic Development Minister spelled out which areas are set to receive funding boosts. And Highlanders coach Tony Brown is set to return to Japan but says he'll coach the Southern Rugby franchise remotely. Now let's look at what's happening in tomorrow's weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Today's Southern View, a piece of central Dunedin street art. Looking at the situation, an active cold front passes over southern districts tomorrow, bringing rain, sleet and even snow to 500 metres on the ranges. Winds will be strong and gusty, temperatures becoming very cold. Weather clears Wednesday, leaving us with some cool days and frosty nights. Travelling to the northwest of the South Island, it's 17 in rain at least for both Westport and Greymouth. Could also be thunderstorms for Greymouth. It's wet up the top too, just slightly warmer. Nelson reaches 18 degrees, Blenheim 19. Moving down to Canterbury, a reprieve for Kaikoura on 20 degrees with partial cloud, but it gets wetter the further down we travel. Showers for Christchurch and rain for Ashburton, both on 22 degrees. Looking at what's in store for the southern towns, strong southwesterlies and rain across this region. Gore only reaches 11 degrees, Lumsden 12, and it's 14 degrees for Gore and the Catlins. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes, much the same here. Strong southwesterlies and rain for Te Anau on 11 degrees. The wind's only slightly lighter for Queenstown, Wanaka and Alexandra with the same rain on 15 degrees. Looking at the northern towns, those southwesterlies are milder on the coast, with rain approaching later in the day. 21 for Timaru, 19 in Oamaru. And its northwesterlies blowing inland, Omarama and Twizel have rain as well, on 16 and 17 degrees respectively. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with northerly winds and an overnight low of 12. Thick high cloud tomorrow morning with a few spits of rain and moderate mild northerly winds. The winds change early afternoon as fresh cold southwesterlies develop with periods of rain, sleet possible later on. A high of 17 and a low of 6. It's calm and cool on Wednesday, early showers clear and southwesterlies ease, becoming fine and sunny during the morning, frosty at night. A high of 10 and a low of -1. And in Invercargill, rain developing tonight with an overnight low of 11. Fresh southwesterlies develop tomorrow morning with periods of rain, becoming very cold during the afternoon as the rain eases to showers. Some sleet is possible during the evening, with showers clearing at night time. A high of 12 and a low of 4. Becoming fine and sunny on Wednesday with cold southerly winds slowly decreasing and dying out, frosty on Wednesday night. A high of 10 and a low of -2 degrees. And that's the news this Monday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Nō reira, kia pai te pō, kei ki te anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.